Checking in now from the West Bloomfield Fire Department is Chief Greg Flynn. And Chief, can you hear me? We can see you.
Okay, loud and clear, Dave. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here. Dad, you probably didn't hear it because I know you were busy, but we just had Chief John Fitzgerald on from Keegle Harbor singing the praise of the Tri-City Fire Department and the West Bloomfield Fire Department, all you're doing. And he said you're setting a really good example for all the other first responders in our area.
Right. No, and I heard Chief Fitzgerald just at the end there, but one of his biggest dreams about one day being a firefighter, and that's a big dream for a lot of police officers out there. So
Yeah. It definitely is that Army Navy thing, isn't it? How you doing today? How you feeling?
well, Dave, so many of these interviews, I really have tried to keep things very upbeat, and I want to try to deliver that today. But unfortunately, the virus is definitely impacting West Bloomfield. It's impacting the greater West Bloomfield area, actually. Our friends in Southfield, our friends in Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield, we are seeing a clear acceleration in the number of cases of COVID positive screenings. Now, remember, our dispatchers are our front line, so they're asking those travel questions, fever, cough, sore throat, and we're hearing call after call after call coming in positive for those signs and symptoms prior to our paramedics arriving on the scene.
So obviously, it's very frustrating to hear, but it's good to know that we have the information, and it's sobering. But I appreciate you sharing that with us very honestly. We've seen the reports on the state website that show Oakland County is one of the most prolific counties for the coronavirus at this point. Do you have any information, anecdotal or otherwise, as to how West Bloomfield, Keegle Harbor, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, I think you already said it a little bit, but maybe you want to double down on where you think we are relative to the other communities in Oakland County?
Well, I think an informed community is a community that can respond appropriately in times like this. And I can't stress to you enough, you watch the international news, the national news, and you hear people say, make sure you stay home. I'm telling you, as your fire chief for Orchard Lake, Keego, Sylvan, West Bloomfield, and as a colleague to the Oakway Mutual Aid Group, at the 9 other biggest fire departments in Oakland County, stay home. It's only going to work if our residents shelter in place, and if they do go out, to keep the social distancing, and wash your hands and avoid touching your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. It is here. One of the things, Dave, that's very important for folks to realize when you see these numbers come out, these are the numbers of tested, hospitalized folks. What I'm telling you is, from the boots on the street, what we're seeing out there is more than what they're seeing in the hospital, right? So the numbers are bigger than what you're seeing. That's not a reason for alarm. That's a reason to comply with what local health officials, Executive Coulter and his team at Oakland County, who are doing a fantastic job. Listen, it's real, and we need to follow their direction.
Chief Greg Flynn with us here on the Megacast today. Dave Scott, Tyler Keefe, and you joining us on Civic Center TV and on Lakes FM and all of our outlets. And a big thank you today to the West Bloomfield Police Department, whose 6,000 Facebook followers are all checking in, and we appreciate you tuning in and being a part of it. So, okay, so the coronavirus is here, Chief. We hear that. How's it going? What kind of calls are you getting, and how's your staff? What kind of things are you responding to? What's working? What's not working? Where do you need help from us?
I appreciate that question, Dave. So the firefighter paramedics are doing their job well. Anybody thinks that the firefighters, the paramedics, the healthcare providers, that this isn't paying a toll on them, it truly is. And think to yourself, as we're telling everyone to stay home, stay in your house, shelter in place. You're protected. You're not having any signs and symptoms. And then we're going to say to a group of people, we want you to go to all the other people that are coughing, have sore throats, are running high fevers, and are having shortness of breath. And we want you to go in and take care of those folks. And At the end of your shift, we want you to go home to your family. So those are stressful things. It's a stressful time. And I think it's important that our community recognize that. That's not because they're asking for anything special. That's just because that's reality. And when we say thank you and we see the support that we get from this community, that's what lifts them up. And I was so thrilled that I think it was a day or two ago that you had a counselor or someone on the emotional wellness side of things. That's so important. The nutrition side of things is so important, as all these folks are in their homes and going a little bit stir crazy. These are things that are important to them within our community, but it's a very important part inside the engine house. And that mealtime is different for us. We're used to sitting right next to each other, and now they're spread out in the kitchen when they're eating. We're a very social group, firefighters are, and we're going against everything that they're used to doing, which is a togetherness, a real camaraderie, and we're spreading that out. And that's challenging, and we're recognizing that, and we're working as a team to put things in place to support them and provide them the support for them and their families.
Chief Greg Flynn joining us on the Megacast here on Lakes FM and on Civic Center TV. Chief, we've all seen the reports. Beaumont has been out saying in the media, in public, that they're near capacity and they've got their hands full. Now, we're out grabbing lunch the other day, our carryout club, and we're keeping our distance and doing everything, but supporting the local restaurants. And we run into one of the Beaumont doctors. Impromptu interview. He said the nurses are absolutely heroes inside the hospitals right now. But he also said, yeah, they're running at capacity, but they're getting the job done. So just any thoughts that you have about how things might be going at the hospitals here in West Bloomfield?
We speak regularly with the team over at Henry Ford West Bloomfield, and I speak for all the firefighters here and for a grateful township board and residents for the great work that Henry Ford Hospital here in West Bloomfield is doing. Those healthcare providers are the compassion and the care that they provide never ceases to amaze me, and now even more than ever. The integration of our team with their team is something that I know both the hospital administration and the fire administration are very proud of. But again, back to my previous comments, the kindness that we talk about, just saying hello. I think Starbucks put something out where they're offering some healthcare providers a free cup of coffee. It goes a long way. And those little acts of kindness mean a lot to people that are working in environments that literally are full of the virus. And they're doing it because it's a calling. They're doing it because someone needs to, and we're grateful for the service of those providers.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. We were going to have Eric Wallace from Henry Ford on today, but he's been busy. National media has been calling here too, so I understand from reports they've got things going on in the parking lot out there, and they're doing all they can to triage, get the people in the hospital that need to be, and help out the other folks as well. They're doing a good job. We'll find out more details when we talk to Eric Wallace likely tomorrow here on the Megacast. But no, they have their hands full right there, and we're really lucky to have them and then all the local doctors in and around West Bloomfield and the area who are doing a really good job. Okay, so how about your bullet point checklist of the hand washing and the other stuff that we need to do before we say so long, Chief?
Well, I think you've probably hit on those, and you're good at being an advocate for that, Dave. And as I catch the beginning and the end of interviews, I want to thank you and your staff again for what you're doing to carry this message.
Thank you.
There's value in a local message. There's value when it's the faces that we see when we're at Kroger and we're at the Starbucks and we're in the community, that those are the same faces that are saying wash your hands. So thank you and your team for doing that. Where we need some help, though, we need some help in our friends. I talked to Director Hopala over at the Water Resources here in the township. And some of us in our efforts to sanitize and clean and disinfect, we're causing some unintended consequences by flushing Clorox wipes into our sanitary system, flushable wipes into the sanitary system. This is not the place for them. They can cause blockages and strain on the system. So that's something that's popped up on our radar that I want to reinforce today, that as you're disinfecting, while many things can go down the toilet with a flush, they shouldn't.
I got a good piece of advice. I can help with this one because I'm a boater, and we got a lot of lakes around here. And any boater who's ever been on a boat with a head in it, they maybe have seen this sign in the bathroom, and it says, don't put anything in the toilet that you've not eaten first. Right? Then that'll be safe, because these things right here, they are definitely a problem. We're hearing from the water departments that are clogging it up. Last thing we want right now is a bunch of workers have to go out and clean out our sewers because of all these wipes. So if you haven't eaten it, don't put it in the toilet, right? For the most part.
So that's a big part of it. And another area that I want to touch on is I see as I'm out and about in the community, doing the things that we're doing, or I'm watching some video of folks, I see many people wearing gloves. And just imagine this. So you go into Costco or wherever it is that you're shopping, and you put on your gloves and you go all through the store, touching everything in the store, touching the cart. Then you touch your face with those gloves, or you touch something else. Then you go back to your car and you're still wearing your gloves and you're touching your car. You're just walking around with dirty hands. Your hands underneath the gloves may be clean, but everywhere that you're touching with those gloves, that you're not replacing those gloves or taking them off, it's dirty. So if you ever watch a healthcare provider as they move from patient to patient, they doff the gloves, they take them off and change them out. And what I'm seeing is people aren't changing them. So all they're doing is transmitting through contact transmission. If there is virus, they're just moving it around, no different than you would with your hands. They're just using gloves. So that's why we come back to the core principles of good hand washing is the best defense. I know that oftentimes people think more is better, but in this case, doing more and not understanding how to use those tools can actually cause more harm. So the lesson to take away from today is don't flush what you didn't eat. And if you're going to use gloves, you need to use them correctly. And that should be frequent change out with exam gloves.
And we don't really get sick. I see people doing it in the stores. You're absolutely right. We are not going to get sick because we touched something with a virus on it and it transmitted to us through our skin on our hands. We're going to get sick because we touched something and then we did this, which I'm not going to do, right? And that's, so your hands, they don't need gloves. Just wash the darn things and then you're all set. Great. But I mean, I was looking for gloves today because I see everybody else wearing them. So excellent advice, Chief. Thank you.
Well, and Dave, it's like anything when you go on these things. We'll probably get some hits on some social media about that with some critics having a different opinion. But just look at the science. Look at what makes logical sense to you. If you're going to use the tool, all we're asking is that you use it appropriately, and that's going to, again, keep the community the safest.
All right. Well done, Chief. Thank you very much. We got to run along. Hey, guess what? Eric Pace is the new principal at West Bloomfield High School. We're going to talk to him in a moment. You can even say congratulations to him. I know I'm sure you've run into him a number of times around the community. So he's going to do a
big congratulations. We're glad to have him, and I need to get into that high school and get some touchless thermometers if I can. That's a request that we have out there.
I'll ask him. I'll ask him when we talk to him in a minute, and I'll get the word back to you. How's that?
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Greg Flynn, Fire Chief here.